Okay, let me settle into a more comfortable position because this is not going to be an easy video. Welcome to the madhouse that's called Turkey, where 85 million people are used as guinea pigs for Mr. Erdogan's crazy economic experiment. The first consequence of this experiment has been a total currency collapse. Let me show you how Turkey fares among all other emerging markets' currencies. I hope this is visible from your smart TV, but Turkish Lira is now at the bottom. Imagine a country the currency of which has lost close to 40% since the beginning of the year. It's worse than Argentina. And Argentina has problems. It has political problems. It can't pay off its loans to IMF. It's largely barred from borrowing in international markets. I wonder if Venezuela is here. Wait. No, I was going to show you Venezuela, but it's not here. Okay, if you check below this video, you'll see my last video about Turkey's currency collapse. It's still ongoing, by the way, though the volatility and the rate of Turkish lira depreciation has slowed down substantially. I shall explain in this video the aftermath of the currency collapse. There are, of course, social and political implications, but I'm going to focus on the economy. Turkey is heading rapidly to what the economists called to a sudden stop syndrome. That's when the economy, which is growing at a moderate or rather satisfactory rate, suddenly stops, like being tackled by an NFL linebacker. It means that the economic activity comes to a standstill, and usually in events like this, the inflation rate also declines, but that's not the case in Turkey's very unique currency collapse episode. So, what happened? Well, President Erdogan decided that conventional economic theory doesn't work for him. He just doesn't like it. He thinks it's not good for Turkey or for his personal interests. So he engaged in this mad experiment, and this is really not my personal viewpoint. I have read several financial press outlets, and there are a lot of fund managers and economists who shake their hands and say, "This is mad, this is mad, this is mad." Now, during last week, Mr. Erdogan's camp unveiled the theoretical underpinnings of what they now call the new economic model. Yes, Mr. Erdogan ought to be nominated for the Nobel Prize in Economics because out of thin air, he invented an economic theory which turns the conventional economic theory on his head. What is this economic theory? It's very simple. Let me explain it to you in a few sentences. A, we want a current account surplus. In other words, we want the exports of our goods and services to bring in more foreign currency than we're paying out in terms of imports and services imported. When the current account turns to a surplus, Turkish lira will appreciate simply because there's more foreign currency than Turks demand. And when Turkish lira appreciates, inflation will go down because there is what we call a pass through, a correlation between Turkish lira, the currency, and inflation. In the meantime, of course, since Turkey is an import dependent economy, the policy of letting the currency go wherever it may want to settle is going to cause extra inflation as well as other problems I shall tell you more below. What are we going to do about the inflation? Very simple. We're going to take a baseball bat with a nail stuck on its head and pound everyone on the head who dares to raise their prices. Honestly, this is not a joke. On November 22nd, Mr. Erdogan was in front of the public where he said a lot of people are taking advantage of the currency instability and raising their prices unfairly. They're hoarders, price gougers, profiteers, etc. He said they shall not be allowed to breathe easily. We'll stamp down on them with all of our might. Great job, Mr. Erdogan. Of course, the, the new economic model is not yet complete. More measures are underway, which means Turkish banks are going to be arm twisted to lend generously to anyone who claims to be an exporter. In fact, according to some pro AKP commentators, even the central bank may be used as a commercial bank to increase its lending facilities to exporters and those who wish to invest into equipment and machinery to export in the future. Let me tell you something about economic theory and practice. Central banks are not very good in terms of participating in the real economy. All they know how to do is to control inflation and perhaps currency depreciation. Just listen to Powell, Fed chairman, who will tell you there are certain problems central banks cannot solve, and you know, lending to exporters is certainly one of them. Uh, Finally, though, Mr. Erdogan had a coherent moment coming back from his dream world, Alice in the Wonderland, I call it, to accept the counsel of his advisors and allow the central bank and state lenders to intervene in the currency markets, which is they're selling currency to slow down the depreciation of the Turkish lira. I'm not very good at currency forecasting, but I would say the red line they are trying to defend is an exchange rate of dollar versus TL at 12. Let me tell you what that means. The speculation and very rapid depreciation in the Turkish lira started when the psychological resistance level or critical resistance level of 10 was breached. So, if central bank manages to stabilize the exchange rate at 12, it would simply mean Turkey will have experienced currency depreciation equal to 20% within a month or less. So, this is the moment I'm going to start talking about the sudden stop syndrome, which is simply that the economy, which is going, say, 60 miles an hour, puts on the brakes and suddenly the back of the car goes up like that. Um, it is caused by inflation, first of all. Now, this 20% currency depreciation in less than a month translates into at least 6 additional percentage points of inflation in the next 3 months. This means, as of October, November data is not yet out, Turkish CPI was running at a rate of 20%. In a few months, that headline rate will soar to 26% if the currency cannot be stabilized at the level I predict, which is dollar TL at 12. Then inflation will escalate further. Now, that's causing other problems in all areas of the economy. This is what we call the price uncertainty problem. Now, remember, modern economies are long term economies. They don't produce, sell, and consume in the same day. Usually, the production process takes time and it involves upfront costs of buying inputs, paying rent, and paying your workers and clerks, which means when a company starts the production of anything, it needs to know the price at which it can sell its output a month hence, perhaps even 3 months hence. That's also true for exporters, which usually receive an order which they fulfill in the next 90 days. Now, imagine a situation where you neither know the inflation nor the exchange rate. How can you price your output? That's the problem. You can't. So, Until the currency stabilizes, more and more producers and wholesalers are reducing their output. They are selling less to the market. Let me give you a few examples of where this is happening. There was a news in the Turkish press yesterday where textile producers shall no longer deliver to wholesalers and retail shops unless the contracts are made in dollars. Let me give you a personal anecdote. I work with an IT person who's extremely capable and takes care of all of my home office needs plan because I'm a moron when it comes to technology. And he's a really pleasant person with whom I get along very well, and he charges me fair prices and also explains to me what the heck he's doing on my computer. Yesterday, he came by for minor adjustments and repairs, and he said the bill will be $50. I mean, in the last 10 years, he never charged me in dollars. And I asked him why. He says, look, I can't get components. I can't get any chips. I can't get any of the applications, software or even cables. Deliveries have halted. There are reports verified by videos or pictures of supermarket shelves thinning, certain products not being found. In fact, a lot of supermarket owners are now complaining that if they order, say, 3 units of, biscuits, cola, whatever, they only get one. Turkey Pharmacist Association just reported their medicine stocks are down to 1 week. And they say unless medicine prices are hiked by 35%, nobody will import medicine to Turkey or domestic producers simply lock down their factories simply because it's not profitable. More importantly, hoarding is starting. One of the most famous Turkish economists, my hero, my idol is Mr. Mahfi Eilmez, who 2 days ago in a TV broadcast said, our homes are now like grocery stores. We're hoarding everything. Hoarding is not only related or restricted to households buying winter goods before the prices go up, but since the entire population now expects inflation to accelerate and their incomes not to keep up with it, they're buying anything they can get their hands on. Cars, refrigerators, white goods. So Turkey does its Christmas shopping early. When we combine all of these things together, this is the picture we see. In the first month after this med experiment has started, people will rush to the stores to buy anything, any real asset they can get their hands on, because they expect its price to be higher in a few weeks. More importantly, since central banks' rate cuts, which precipitated this crisis, also means loans are now cheaper for those who have the credit score, they will also borrow as much as possible to buy anything they may need in the next 3 months or so, or anything that may defend their assets, their wealth against inflation. This is the hoarding behavior or the bringing forward of the consumption affair. And then what happens? Well, first of all, since most people have fixed incomes, at least in a certain time period, while inflation continuously increases, they won't be able to buy anything but necessities. So demand will receive a blow from that aspect. Supply will receive a major blow as retail shops run out of stock. Wholesalers will either negotiate for much higher prices or hoard their goods, knowing that they will not be able to replenish their inventories when they are out of stock. Producers are in the same position. Many don't dare to import raw materials or semi finished goods simply because they don't know whether the prices at which they brought these items into their inventory can be reflected to final prices. That's what happens in a supply chain breakdown. The entire world is experiencing it to some degree or not, but ours is completely homemade. The great work of Mr. President Erdogan as a Christmas gift to us. So I assume once the initial frenzy of hoarding and precautionary buying ends, say right before Christmas, Turkish economic activity will go down like this, whoops, whoops, and stays right there. And Turkey will have a recession until this experiment ends. Do we know when Mr. Erdogan may consider the experiment successful? Oh, yeah. He's certain. He told his caucus members that the experiment will last 3 to 5 months, at the end of which we will all see the results, positive results, that is. So imagine a nation where poverty has already deepened substantially, which is now subjected to this experiment which threatens to destroy their livelihoods. Obviously, people are not going to put up with it. Since Tuesday, every night, I have witnessed small scale but very widespread demonstrations across Turkey. As of Friday night, I think 12 cities reported small scale unrest. Now, with the main opposition party starting its campaign rallies against the high cost of living on December 4th in the Mediterranean city of Mersin, I fear that this will encourage more people to spill out onto the streets and to protest against hunger and poverty. I hope it doesn't get ugly between the police and the protesters. And finally, of course, I have done another video on that. There is a rising course of early elections, not only from opposition leaders who always want early elections, but from respectable commentators and pundits who cover Turkish politics. Currently, there are several YouTube videos where the expert says not early elections but immediate elections. Of course, Mr. Erdogan and his ally Bahçeli, the nationalist leader, don't have any reason to call early elections because they think within 3 to 5 months the experiment will bear fruit and the voters will increase their support for them. What if they don't? Will the experiment end? Will Mr. Erdogan stage a U turn? Or will there be massive protests and even perhaps mass resignations from AKP, which would precipitate early elections? Or will he send the police to the streets and Turkey will be forced to live in deep poverty and misery until at least June 2023, when the next scheduled elections will take place? Keep watching. I'll continue to update you on the Turkish drama that's unfolding as we speak. This is Attila Yeşilada presenting for Real Turkey channel. If you liked the video, please share with others who may be interested in Turkish affairs or just good action tricks, flicks before Christmas. Bye bye now.